Hello friends, welcome to Science with Me. My name is Dr. Erica with Rosie Research, and we are doing a fun little astronomy paper circuits unit. And in this unit, we are using all sorts of toilet paper tubes. Now, if you don't have enough toilet paper tubes, you can always just use a piece of paper and wrap it up with a piece of tape down the seam. So we've made a fun, cute little Hubble that lights up, and we're also making a little constellation sort of flashlight. And today we are going to be making a rocket ship. So I thought this would be a lot of fun. We can blast off and have a good time with that. So what you're going to need is your toilet paper tube or a tube that you've made out of paper. You're going to need some little LED lights along with a battery. I've got a Sharpie here, but you just need a pen. The color doesn't matter as long as you can see it. I've got some scissors. This is really just a cup that I'm going to use to trace a circle so that I can make it into a cone on my little guy. I've got two types of tape. I have my non-conductive tape, which is a masking tape, and my conductive tape, which is copper tape. I've got some building tools, just my glue gun and some glue sticks, and then some construction paper. And you might have lots of other fun decorations as well. All right, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is I actually want to hide my battery on the inside of this, but I kind of want this bottom part to be flat instead of having a big cut out into it with a flap like we did with Hubble. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to take a piece of our construction paper, and you can take your battery on top of that construction paper, and you'll just sort of mark around that battery as a square. All right, and we are going to cut out this little square tab that we can then tape on to the bottom, and that will allow us to have a little piece for our battery. So we can put our battery on the inside, and we can put some copper tape along this green piece, and then it will flip over. So let's tape that on with our non-conductive tape. So your masking tape, your duct tape, or your scotch tape, any sort of non-metallic tape will work for that. And we're just going to tape it on right to the edge. All right, so just like this, just right on the edge, so now it can flip over. And that will be our switch, and we'll put our battery right here. In fact, let's draw a circle right on the inside, just above that square, to remind us that our battery is going to go right there. All right, so now we are ready for the copper tape. We're going to put one piece of copper tape on the inside, just like that, and we're going to put one piece of copper tape on the outside, and when we come here, we'll bend it and go over, but only so we'll keep on that green right there. So first, let's do the copper tape on the inside. So I'm going to take a piece of the copper tape. I'm making myself way more than I think I need. I'll get it started. I like to start it with my fingernails. That can always be the trickiest part of this. You've got to separate that paper backing from the copper tape. And once you do, be really careful. You're only going to peel it just a little bit. If you peel it too much, it'll form these ringlets that'll be really hard. So we have to put this on paper and then peel the backing as we go. So I'll start on the inside. I'm going to go into that circle that we had just drawn for our battery. And then we're just going to go all the way around. So we'll peel it as we stick it down. All right, and I like to peel a little extra and give myself a little bit of space to stick it down. We want to do our best to keep it all the way inside. If you have little bumps like what I have right now, I have a little bump here, that's okay. You can just smush it down and fold it to be where you need it to be. All right, the biggest thing is we don't want to cut that copper tape because the electrons are on this lovely little highway of copper tape. Oops, I just cut mine. So I'm going to start over. And like I was saying, those electrons are on this lovely highway, and if they're on that highway and the highway breaks, they can't really sort of climb through all of the glue to the next level of tape. So while it might look like, oh, I've got these guys touching and it's great, they won't work as well. I always suggest just restarting and just thinking of it as a little bit of extra practice that you got of laying down copper tape. And as you can see, it happens to all of us. We all break that copper tape. The trick is once it rips, just start that piece of copper tape all the way over. All right, so I'm going to make sure I'm all the way around. If I want to keep going, I have this extra tape, I can keep going. That's okay to layer the copper tape because once if it's all one piece, once this is like touching one piece, it goes through that whole highway, and the length of that highway does not matter. Excuse me. All right, so I have this copper tape that's going all the way on the inside. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the outside. So I'm going to take another piece of this copper tape, nice and long. I'll get it started with my fingernail. And then I am going to start and just place it again by that top edge, just like we did with Hubble and like we're doing here along this top edge on the outside. We don't want this inside and the outside to touch, okay? So make sure that your pieces don't touch. That would connect the two highways, and the electrons would have so much fun that they would skip the LEDs because they wouldn't need to. All right, so now I'm here on this tab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself some extra space, and I'm going to sort of fold this right over my finger like that. And it's going to go all the way down the tab that we just did, and it's also going to go around. So I'm not ripping it yet. Make sure you still have one nice piece. And then I'm going to fold it down over here, and this is going to be the part that touches the top of my battery. If you want to give it a little bit better connection, what you can do is you can bend it at the bottom and sort of add in some more copper tape on this. But this copper tape doesn't come down and touch inside, all right? So it stops on your tab, but if you want, you can sort of go backwards and make that a little bit thicker. All right. So now we have this lovely tab here. It's got the copper tape that goes around the outside. Again, it hasn't broken, so if it breaks, please make sure you do it again. And then we have the copper tape on the inside. And what we can do is we can put our battery in, face down on the inside, so that means I can see sort of the little plus sign and the letters on the top. And if I pinch it like this, let's get my battery in there really nicely. It's a little tricky. We're gonna have to tape our battery in, I think. But if I put this, I'm pinching my battery, now we can check and see if that works for us. So let's grab an LED. The long leg will go on the outside, and the short leg will go on the inside. And you'll notice when I press it, that it lights up for me. And that's exactly what we want. So this tells us that the battery works, that our copper tape is working, and that our LEDs work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how many little yellow lights I can put on this battery. And you can choose what color light. These are going to be the flames of my rocket, so I thought yellow would be kind of good. And let's just see, maybe I want 4 or 5. We want to double check that it will light up, one battery will light up that many LEDs of that color. And that just means if it's lighting them all up, it's going to use a little bit more of its battery juice to get through all 5 of these. So instead of it lasting for maybe 5 hours or 1 hour, maybe, well, I guess for 5 hours, instead of if like one LED it lasted for 5 hours, now it might last for 1 hour. But that's okay with me because I'm going to have this really cool little rocket ship. If you want a different color, that's totally fine. I will say though, you can't mix the red and the yellow. Red is usually really power hungry. It hogs everything. It's where the electrons like to go. Oh, actually I've got a red one going. Normally you can't do red with any other color, but maybe since red and yellow are so close, we could see if we could do that. So we could have sort of a mix of these if we wanted to, and maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just do 4 and have a mix. Now I'm going to use the same 4 that are on here right now because I know all 4 of these LED work. I know they all work with my battery, and so that will help me with troubleshooting later. If your LED is not lighting up, make sure that you check your legs. So there's one leg on the LED that's slightly longer and one leg that's shorter. The longer leg goes on top, the short leg goes on bottom, like just sort of straddling that battery. If you flip it over so the legs are opposite, your LED won't light up. So if you're having trouble with your LED lighting up, that is probably the case, especially if it's straight on top of a battery. If it works on the battery but not in your circuit, then we have to check your copper tape. All right, so I'm going to tape this battery in, and I'm going to leave a bunch of space on the top. So I want to see the silver. Tricky if you have clear tape, because sometimes we tape it over the clear tape over the whole top, and then we sort of forget that it's there, and then it can no longer make contact. That battery has to make contact with the metal, the copper tape on the bottom, and the copper tape on the top to be able to complete that circuit. If we skip those parts, then we don't have a circuit, we don't have power, and our LEDs won't light up. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to tape it in. Littler hands might need a little help with this part, getting it taped in. And I'm going to tape it in sort of on the sides too. And wherever you put this Scotch tape, just know that your metal legs of your LEDs won't be able to touch the copper tape there. And so that is a spot that you won't be able to hang an LED light from. And that is just something to think about as we go along. Oops, I'm going to try to put one more piece in here just to make it extra sturdy. There we go. All right, and so now I've got my battery that's nice and safely in there. It's nice and snug. I'm going to double check that this still works. So again, the short leg of my LED is going to go on the inside, and when I pinch, it turns on, which is great. Now, these LEDs, you'll notice when I pinch it, I can just tape it just like that, but sometimes I like it when the legs have a little bit more space to contact the copper tape. So what you could do for that is you could take your LED and you could just bend the legs like an L. I bent both of them in the same way. And now these legs are going to go along the copper tape in both of them. And again, I can press it and try. It gives it a little bit more contact. So I'm going to put this down here towards my tab. I'm going to put 4 of these on. And the way that you attach them is you're just going to put a piece of the non-conductive tape, so our Scotch tape for me, but maybe for you, you've got a different type of tape, over these legs. Now these legs have to be touching the copper tape for it to work. And I also have to pinch the battery, which is my switch. You can use a binder clip when you want this all the way on, and it will just pinch it on for you. All right, so let's do, the next one I'm going to do is red. So again, I'm going to take my legs and I'm going to just bend them like an L. I'm going to make sure the long leg is on the outside and the short leg is on the inside. I can double check and test it, and then I will add in some more Scotch tape for this one. And again, you want to make sure if you're putting Scotch tape on here, you don't put it all the way over this, because then it will make it more difficult to make connections. So here, I couldn't put the leg on top of the Scotch tape because it wouldn't make contact and my electrons wouldn't go through. But once I have Scotch tape there, it's totally fine, as long as, again, this LED leg, the LED legs that you're taping in have to be touching that copper tape, inside and outside. All right, so this little short leg is touching the copper tape, almost touching the Scotch tape, and it's fine as long as it's touching the copper tape somewhere. And that gives the electrons a nice little exit so that they can then reach the LED and have fun and turn on. Alrighty, so let's do another one of these. I'm going to again bend it, plop it on. Guess I could try to space these out somewhat evenly. I will have a gap right here because I can't attach an LED right there. So I'm going to take my legs and I'm going to tape them in and make sure that it is making really good contact. Again, see, I've got this leg bent and it's all the way on that copper tape. I might bend mine up a little bit just to make it so it's all the way on. And then I can tape this on. And we'll do the same thing on the inside. On the inside of my leg, it's actually a little bit below that copper tape. Now this part of the LED leg that goes down through the copper tape will still touch, but I want that extra little bit of help here, so I'm going to make sure that I move it so the whole leg is touching the copper tape. Then I will just press that down, double check. Oh, see, it looks like I've lost one. And we'll just double check. It's just if I press. Sometimes that happens with our LEDs. The tape doesn't quite hold them in exactly how we want it to be, and that's fine. We just gotta press on it to make it work. So my last one, I'm gonna make that L, and I am going to tape this in. Let's double check that it works. It does. I'm gonna just use a few little pieces of tape right here, making sure that that is pressing into the copper tape, touching really, really well. If you have a lot of problems getting that leg to work for you, what you can do is you can grab a little tiny piece of tin foil and you can put it between the Scotch tape and the leg, and that will help it make really, really good contact as well. That's one of my little tricks, but it's just an added layer that if you don't have to do it, it's nice not to. All right, so I have this little guy right here. Those are gonna be my boosters. I have some great rocket boosters now. It will be even able to be on while it's standing. if I want it to be, if I use like a paper clip or a binder clip. So now we just need to decorate this and turn it into a beautiful rocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cup and I am going to trace around the circle of my cup so that I can cut out a nice circle. Now it doesn't have to be a particular size, too big and you're going to have a really, really tall cone, too small and it will be more flat. But the goal is just to get a pretty good circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I'm going to cut this one out so it's easier for me to cut from my angle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It'll just help your cone come into formation a little better. So let's cut out this circle. And the trick with making cones is that you want to cut a slit into your circle. Now you can cut a pie-shaped wedge out if you would like to. We could cut a whole piece out. Or you could just take that slit, and you'll notice the second that I sort of draw them on top of each other, I turn it into a cone. And you can sort of change the size of that cone by how much I go in and out. So if I pull them in, the cone gets nice and tight, or I can make it really wide. So you have to decide what kind of cone do I want on my rocket. And I think I'm going to try to sort of match just about the size of that toilet paper tube, just like that. And then I'm going to tape this in place. I can tape it on the inside pretty easily and nobody will even notice. And maybe I'll put a little dab of glue on the outside to help hold that into place. Now if you wanted it taller, you could use a larger circle. Instead of just a cup, you could use a larger circle and that will make it a little bit taller for you. All right, I'm going to add another glue stick in here. All right. So here is my little cone, and I'm going to just glue this right on top. And the way that I'm going to do that, so my cone is just a little bit bigger than this. So what I can do is I can actually put glue around the top ring of this cone right here. And that will let me just place the cone on top. There we go. Just having trouble feeding in my new glue stick. All right, so let's put this right on top, just like that. Fabulous. I am really liking this. We still have all of our boosters. I think that we need some fins coming off of our rocket. Doesn't quite look as rockety as what I would like right now. So we are going to add some fins. I think I'm going to add those in blue. So I'm going to cut a piece of blue paper off. And what you could do, there's a couple ideas for fins. If you want them to be the same type and you want, let's say, 3 fins, what you can do is you can fold your paper into a zigzag like that, and you can cut your fins out of the paper all at once. So maybe I want my fins to be sort of rounded but also pointy. Maybe I want them to look like this. And because I folded that zigzag, I'll get a couple of pieces, and this one I can just cut in half just like that. And so now I have sort of 3 of the same fins. So using that little folding trick can help you from cutting. And I'm not sure if this will be strong enough, the paper, to sort of hold it if I put them like this. I kind of would like that though, so I'm going to try and we'll see what happens. I'm going to fold over a little part of this fin and make myself a tab that I can use to glue it onto my spaceship. I think if I just glued the straight edge of the paper, I don't think that would be strong enough for sure. So I'm going to put this fin on here. I'm going to just line them up to the bottom. Maybe if it's not strong enough, maybe I decide I put like a toothpick or something. All right, so I'm going to fold again a nice little, small little tab right here. And that will help me glue it right on to my rocket ship. Now I have 3 fins, so I'm going to try to put them 1/3 of the way around each time so that they'll be mostly even. 3 fins is nice because it sort of gives you a tripod to balance on. But 4 fins will also work. 2 fins will not be stable enough, so you'll need more than 2 fins for this project if you're adding fins to it. All right, so this is my last one. I'll place it hopefully right in the middle of what's left of these two. Now it's okay to glue on top of this copper tape here because we already have our LED legs all inside with their legs touching the copper tape. So once that happens, then it's okay to add something more insulative. All right, so now I have this fun rocket. I could add a paper clip so that it can be always on, and it does stand, which is amazing. So, oh, look at that. Maybe I can even, let's see. Sometimes you can get the switches to work whenever you want them to. But I think I'll need a paper clip on that. But I do have this great little rocket. It can blast off just like that. We can add some drawings and some people maybe inside of our rocket. And this is a great idea. It's a lot of fun to make. And you can also think about how we launch our rockets from Earth and how we use those to give payloads outside of Earth's atmosphere. For example, soon we are going to launch James Webb, which is a new telescope. It's much, much newer than Hubble. It'll look at different things, but it'll launch James Webb and we need a rocket to get out of Earth. And so this is a fun way. You could even add in like something on the inside of here if you wanted to have your own payload and your own rocket. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you have enjoyed this fun little toilet paper circuits project with us, and we will see you again soon with some more fun. Bye, friends.